was thinking about, going into some other aspect of lore rather than just, sticking with the historical narrative of the Æthelish. But since I recently was just, kind of went nuts for just lore dumping on my own. Forget it, I'm just gonna keep going with it. So, yes, hello again, it's me, to talk to you again about, Antiquidemos and the history of the Æthelish, specifically with the fourth and final Orcish War.
At least for the Æthelish.
As I mentioned last time, the war started due to the actions of one king Leofwine? Leofwine, let's go with that. Leofwine.
You can tell I didn't make up these names.
Leofwine I, who succeeded his father Dunstan after he died. He was rather young, and most importantly, rather insecure about himself compared to his father. So he decided, okay, how about this? I'll go over to the southeastern corner, where the last orcs remain, and I'll just wipe the floor with them, proving how much of a great king that I am, just as good as my father. And he immediately lost extremely badly. This crippled the kingdom so badly that the orcs managed to get all the way from where they were, at a place called the Orc Brig Pass, all the way to the capital, and laid siege to it. So, yes, it screwed up really badly. Needless to say, he became extremely unpopular after that. So much so that his wife, Wilburga, ended up killing him, and no one seemed to care. And, even stranger, for the first time, the kingdom was actually under the rule of the minor. So she ended up, taking it upon herself to control the kingdom on the behalf of the king, as regent. Meanwhile, the siege was still going on, and Wilburga managed to get in contact with two famed warriors from the Æthelish people, veterans of the last war, Dale and Bale, twin brothers, who, under the orders of Wilburga, ended up figuring out a way to basically cut off the supplies of the orcs and force them off the area, ending the siege. This made her incredibly popular with the local people, as she basically was seen as the savior of the whole kingdom. However, the war itself would not end for another several decades, as the orcs were still hidden around in the forested areas to the east, as well as the Orc Brig Pass, which was particularly difficult to fight in. But Dale and Bale, along with others, ended up tying them down and preventing the worst of the catastrophes, up until the king came of age. You see, two things ended up happening. First, Dale and Bale, upon a disagreement with Wilburga, decided to go to the young king in order to get away with the project that they wanted to do, another campaign in the south, and she really didn't like this, seeing this as a usurpation of her authority. In addition to that, when the king finally did come of age, she began to realize pretty quickly that she was going to lose all the power that she did gain over the past several years, which she very much liked at that point and didn't want to give up, no matter what. Luckily for Wilburga, Leofwine II, the current king, had a bastard son from one of the ladies at court. And using this opportunity, she decided to kill him and legitimize the younger son to allow him to be the official king while she retained her regency. Although the decision of murdering her own son would slowly, over the course of years, deteriorate her mind. Meanwhile, at the war front, Dale and Bale continued to fight in the region, constantly hampered by the fact that Wilburga stopped sending them supplies, and they were basically waging a guerrilla war in the Orc Brig Pass, up until eventually Wilburga was too suspicious of them and sent them back to be recalled. She charged them with high treason and sentenced them to death. However, luckily for them, they managed to be rescued by the current king's mother, Gadavia, who later was forced to flee along with Dale and Bale, as Wilburga began to institute a whole bunch of purges of those she suspected, including the other members of the royal house, as well as one of the rival houses, who was also forced to flee into the northeast, in a land that, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to call Esterland. Meanwhile, without Dale and Bale, the orcs saw their opportunity and began to run rampant across the southern territories, causing a great deal of difficulties for the people there, but at this point, Wilburga only really cared about sustaining her position of power in the capital, as well as the surrounding territories. So the war entered into a rather brutal stage, mostly in the southern regions. This sparked a lot of discontent amongst various factions, and specifically the exiles in Esterland began to forge a plan. They came in contact with the young king, who was in support of the faction, and they decided to devise a scheme, where once the king came of age, they would send a force from Esterland to take over the capital and secure his throne, and also depose Wilburga. Which they did. This new king, Hrothgar, who proved to be incredibly capable, and he managed to work with Dale and Bale to reignite the war and kick the orcs finally out of the southern lands, where they were previously raiding with impunity. Then finally they turned to the Orkbrig Pass and finally got rid of the orcs once and for all, and the Æthelish from there on after, free from their terror. He also instituted a bunch of government reforms to fix things, but I don't have time to get into that right now. So yeah, that was the fourth and final Orcish War, and ended the establishing period of the Æthelish people in the western territories of Antiqua Deimos. Long sentence. So I think that's actually a good place for us to stop in regards to this idea of the history of the Æthelish. Maybe I could talk on the history of some other people. Then again, the Æthelish are the only ones I've really focused in on in any great deal of detail, so maybe I could focus in on more specific things, or maybe I could focus on like a particular species, because I wanted to actually tell you about the orcs, you know, as like a creature and or other things, but yeah, for now, yeah, I'll figure that out later. I'd also like to start making videos on a weekly basis rather than bi-weekly basis. Hopefully I can get that started, you know, next week. And, you know, hopefully it'll be something that'll be a bit exciting, like that book review thing I was mentioning. Rather than my grand plans, I'd like to just say thank you for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you around.